Hey, I'm Josh Rumple, and I'm interviewing Sylvie Robinson today as a part of First Congregational's 150th anniversary
Whoop,
celebration.
whoop.
It's a long time. How long have you been attending First Congregational?
I'm pretty sure since I was born. That feels correct. And if not, since I was an infant, for sure.
Sure.
Yeah.
What is your earliest memory or memories, plural?
Oh gosh. I have this super distinct memory of when Ben Broadbent was pastor here. My first memory of like church was my like 4-year-old brain being convinced that he was actually Jesus. He wasn't, but that was like my understanding of how church worked. You went to go hear Jesus. That was not. Jesus in all of us, that works.
Sure.
It's my earliest memory, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Was he the minister at the time when you first met him?
Yeah.
Awesome. Can you share a memory from your time spent with any like a committee or a group here or a team?
One of my favorite experiences was my youth group trip to Alamosa, which was really shifted my perspective and my gratitude in a lot of different ways for the roof I have over my head and things. And it was a bunch of, kids my age, which was fun, and bunk beds, and, which is always fun for a 12-year-old. But that was really, I think, changing to how I viewed my world in relationship to the hardships that people around me face on a daily basis.
Yeah. Any other memories from either children's programming or youth programming that you've been part of that are memorable or meaningful?
My confirmation was really kind of life-changing for me. Partly because half of it was just like meditating with horses, which was like super awesome. Which is exactly, I think, what I needed at that time. It just kind of worked well with where I was in my own journey. Because it wasn't like necessarily where, my mom sits down with her Bible every morning, but it was very connecting to what I still now, 2 years later, align with and would say is my spiritual experience.
Who would you remember as friends over the course of your years here?
Oh gosh. When the Broadbents were here, Ben, the Kemp family, but my peers, like Ellen, Francis, and those kinds of people. But more than anything, my mom's friends. I'm an only child, so a lot of the time I was actually hanging out with adults more than I was my own kids my own age. So probably a lot of the adults in the congregation that have like shaped me in a more loving being.
Awesome. What do you value most about this church and this faith community?
I think that like in daily life there are particular people that I'd say this is a universal experience, but particular people in my life that I gravitate to because they are so filled of light and love and like joy, and kind of this limitless good energy or whatever, that I think like you don't have to seek that out here. They just all kind of come here. It's very, and there's like variations of people within that, but mostly everyone here is, if they're not immediately off the bat like very loving and open, they have to be. It's just like you're not going to find any hateful person here.
Sure.
Yeah.
So you're about to leave for college.
Yeah.
Like in weeks, days really.
19.
19 days. What's one thing that you're going to take away as you move to a different community? You're moving across the country. What's one thing that or maybe multiple things that you'll take away from this church and this community of people as you make this very big transition in your life?
Just grace, I think, really mostly. Just traits that I have that are attributed to this community and thus to myself that I hope to continue to have in my life when I leave.
Yeah, what does grace mean to you?
Being soft around the edges. It's all one big metaphor, but you know. Yeah. Kindness, empathy, understanding, forgiveness, all the good Jesus stuff.
What's one of your favorite memories from your life growing up here?
When I started to have a voice, when I started to realize that I could say things and they mattered. And I think the first time I really felt that way outside of my English class, which I was good in, and we had a poetry, segment in 8th grade, and I was like, oh, okay, I can write. But besides that, I don't think I really, I definitely grew my, not my self-worth here, but the worth of my words. And I think, at 14, realizing that I could say things and it would impact people.
Share a specific story when you use words.
There was this, this is getting into the nitty-gritty lore, but after there was a lot of disruption in our community, after a very hard time of conflict, we had a forum, some sort of discussion, congregational discussion. And I remember being the last one to go because I was so anxious the whole time because I wanted to say something so badly because everyone was so angry and so hurt and so not leading with love at this time. And I remember being like, guys, what the heck? And it's the first time I think half of the congregation ever heard my voice. Most of the time it's just me attached to my mom's arm, just like, hey guys, yeah, school's great, But I was so fed up. And I remember grabbing the mic and I'm pretty sure I blacked out. I was so anxious about it. But it's very, what are we doing? This is not this church. Which then, led me into being on the search committee and being feeling like I had a voice in maybe some of the change that needed to happen. And it wasn't just, you guys suck. It was like, I love this church. I just remember having this whole monologue that a lot of people came up to me and vocalized that it impacted them. And maybe it pissed some people off, but it was the first time that, that's fine too. It's the first time that I felt like my words did something to someone.
Yeah, so you were on the search committee. Tell us more about that experience. The search committee to find Leanne.
It's a great experience. If I were, I was also lucky to not have to do all the nitty gritty, 57 pages of material, which I was grateful for. But it was a really great process, and I really got to see outlined what are the values of this church, which we got to refine and reflect properly. And it was also so obvious, who we were considering and who we weren't. Not that anybody was particularly bad. It's just the minute we were with Leanne, we were like, oh, yep, okay. It was great. I felt treated like a person and not a youth member. Yeah.
Yeah. So one of my biggest passions here is to make sure that youth voices are heard, because you're a part of this community and not just the future of the church, but like you're the present reality of the church. Can you talk about that?
Oh yeah. That is, I talk about my mom. I talk to my mom about this actually pretty frequently, that has been a really big asset in my life. Not only as in like, oh, I feel like I'm treated more of a person. And I think that also comes with me getting older. But definitely how you intentionally integrate youth, I think, into even just, I was the liturgist and Eli's been the liturgist, there's that really, the dwelling place is super cool now and like, whatever. But it's also another gift with that in being able to be more involved in congregational life is that I just like dig it. I think more than I ever have. Because I get to sing on Sundays sometimes and I get to talk to people and I get to, reach out to people in the congregation that I've never met that can come up to me when I'm done talking or that know of me or, whatever. It's a real gift, I think.
Awesome. So you've been around this church and this community for almost 18 years. The church has been around for almost 150 years. What advice would you give to those who will be coming in the next 150 years?
Oh, gosh. This is just like a human condition thing that is really hard. But don't be such a stickler about change. Change is scary and horrible and awful, but like, what are you gonna do? The only way that we as a society get warmer and kinder and more loving is by change. And it sucks. And let's talk about how it sucks. It's okay for it to suck. Just be filled with grace. I mean, there's just like, normal life things. I don't have anything profound about like AI taking over or anything in the next 150 years. But, oh yeah, don't get like an AI, like, I don't want to be watching a sermon that is automated and artificial intelligence.
Sure.
About that.
So I shouldn't ask ChatGPT to write my next sermon?
No.
Okay.
Don't do that.
All right.
Don't.
Any other advice?
The youth know what they're doing most of the time. Most of the time. They're super cool if you let them be cool. Anyways, yeah, that's all I got.
Any other specific memories that you have about First Congregational Church?
I mean, there's so many. I've been here my whole life. It's
All right,
it's
let
my
me give you
whole world.
Yeah. It's how about a happy memory or a silly memory?
Happy or silly memory?
Yeah.
At the the atrium. When I was little, the kids used to like sit on that little ledge thing. And I used to fall back into the doors and make this big clanking noise and then get in trouble and then have to get off. And my little, I have another silly memory. I used to love getting so dressed up for church. I mean, and in my teenage years, that kind of dwindled a little bit, as I think teenage years do that. But I remember when I was like 5 and 6 and 7 and around that age, I always wanted to wear my dresses. I had this one white dress with pink and black polka dots, and that was like my church dress. I had more than one dress because you would not catch me. I was very serious about my clothing back then. You would not catch me wearing the same thing a month in a row.
Sure.
No. But I always wanted to be so nice for church. Anyways. Or there's so many. Like poem and jazz Sunday and folk Sunday and confirmation Sunday and, you know, all these really memorable Sundays in my life. And carried me through my whole life.
Lovely. You've been involved in a lot of the musical programming here. Talk about music at the church.
Oh, music has always been such a big part of this church, which is something that I think a lot of the, if not all of the congregation really values. I know I do. Oh, I know I do at least. And that's been around, that's not a new thing. I mean, I remember being little and watching Ben Broadbent with his guitar and his mic, you know. So it's always been a big part of the church. And it's really exciting to get to, I love to sing, and I love to sing with these people. It's really cool. I think it's super cool. Yeah.
What do you think is the most important thing this church does or stands for? Or
Oh. Well, I think that I always feel so cool when people will be talking about religion or whatever, and it's like, well, I'm a Christian, and then you get the initial like, oh. But then I elaborate, and then they're like, oh. And that is my favorite part, because I feel like, in a way, it's changing the perspective of some of the people who, while I think it is true and accurate to have that kind of reaction about a lot of communities that don't share similar values to us, I do think it's super cool when I get to explain how not that way we are, how super cool and awesome we are.
what are some of those values that would make us
mean,
distinct or unique?
not angry or hateful and loving to literally any singular person ever. And I don't, and I saw this somewhere, I don't remember what it was, but it was like, there's a difference between like a Christian and someone that like follows Jesus. And I feel like while that might not be true for everyone there, and like I call myself a Christian, so it's metaphorically speaking, but I think there's a difference between just like blindly following morals that you have just, that have been put in front of your face, and what we're doing, which is loving limitlessly and without any conditions, which I think is what is necessary to be a person. I think it's really important to have those morals as a human being. It doesn't even matter if you're a Christian or not, which ties back into what I said earlier about how I think everyone in this conversation has those morals, and you don't have to seek them out, because we're all here. So,
Anything else that you would like to share?
I don't know. I'm not good at generating anything.
It's totally fine.
That's all I got.
All right. That's all I got too.
Great.
Honey.